Hi guys, Jessica here from the Healing Hands Duo, and today I'm going to be talking to you guys about why I no longer use antiperspirant and why I've actually switched over to a natural deodorant. But before we go there, let's smash the stigma that sweating is gross. Sweating is so completely normal to the body for both men and women. And the thing about sweating is it has actually two very important functions in the body. Number one, it helps the body to regulate its core body temperature so that we don't overheat ourselves. And number two, it's a great way for our bodies to eliminate toxins in order to support our immune system and keep our bodies healthy. After all, people spend thousands of dollars every day on infrared saunas and on infrared sauna sessions in order to intentionally sweat. So when I start to really think about what antiperspirant was doing in order to prevent us from sweating, I thought to myself, could this lead to further health complications? And do I really want to be putting this stuff all over my armpits every day? And now for a little personal story of my own. I believe it was probably back in 2010. I started to notice that I was having a lot of issues with my breasts. They were extremely tender, they were always sore, they were very, very lumpy. My breasts always felt like I was just going into my menstrual cycle. So I thought, this is not normal. I kind of had let it go for the longest time, but what happened was one morning I woke up and I was very concerned by one in particular lump that I had felt. This one was a lump that I had in my left breast, and it was brand new and it was quite sharp, and it concerned me because I had one doctor who had told me years ago when doing breast examinations to look for breast cancer, the things that want to concern you is anything that feels like a knuckle or is very hard is something that you might want to get checked out. So in this case, that's kind of what mine felt like. When I got to the doctor's office, he did a breast examination on me, and I'm guessing he must have been concerned by this lump as well, because he immediately said, you know what, I think we should send you in for an ultrasound. That freaked me out, but he was really good about it and he got me in, I think, within about a day or two. So I went in for the ultrasound. I was in there quite a long time with the technician, and it just seemed to me like there was something that she was seeing that was a little bit concerning, because she kind of kept scanning over the area over and over and over again. I did get a call from my doctor the next day, and he said, you know what, I think we're gonna have to send you in to get a mammogram. Which I knew he had been trying to avoid sending me for a mammogram, because let's face it, mammograms are not the best type of imaging for the breast, and in itself could be fairly dangerous. And in that case, what I would suggest for anyone that's getting these on a regular basis is I would strongly suggest looking into something called breast thermography. It's a lot safer, it's a lot less invasive on the breast, and to be honest, after doing this mammogram, because I did go and do the mammogram the next day, because at that time I hadn't known about breast thermography, or would have tried that first, that was my last option. So I did go in, and being a very small-breasted woman, I'm gonna tell you that was like one of the worst experiences ever, because to get what I had into this machine was very uncomfortable, to say the least. And that whole motion of pancaking the breast between two metal plates, and I can only imagine if you ever did have a breast tumor, I can't imagine how that couldn't cause it to spread or rupture or anything, or even if you had a cyst, and for that matter. But then again, that's entirely my preference, and if you decide to continue getting mammograms, I would just say research that a little bit further. So whatever it was, it turned out that everything was normal, and I went for the mammogram, and I got a call back from him in 2 days, and he was actually calling back just to say that everything came back clean, it looked normal. It just looked like the breast had some type of a lump that was filled with fluid, perhaps like some type of a cyst, and that it would probably dissipate on its own. I know for him that was kind of the end to that situation, but for me it really wasn't, because I kept thinking to myself, well, this can't be normal. Like, I know I had had doctors tell me before my breasts were just naturally lumpy, but that didn't make any sense to me, because I was thinking, so my breasts are naturally lumpy and they hurt all the time, but that's normal? I was like, no, that's not a good enough answer for me. So what I decided to do was to hit the books. I started reading, I started actually calling a couple of my clients that know some things about breast tissue or who have dealt with breast cancer. I started looking into like antiperspirant and deodorant and the whole works. So the common thing that kept coming up for me, and I was actually looking for a direct connection between something like aluminum or the parabens or the triclosan in antiperspirant leading to things like breast cancer. And although I didn't find a definitive study that actually proved that it increased your risk of breast cancer or caused breast cancer, I know what was happening with me was something linked to the antiperspirant and obviously other issues like hormone imbalances and stuff like that. This was kind of the weird thing for me. When I stopped using antiperspirant, this was a clear indication to me that whatever I had been doing with this antiperspirant wasn't a good thing. And the other thing is let's not forget that antiperspirant also changes the microbiome of the bacteria that grow underneath your armpits, which in some cases have been known to be beneficial for that area of the body. In the beginning, I had to go through dozens of natural deodorants in order to find the one that worked for me. And that's probably gonna be something that you're all gonna have to do as well before you find one that's right for you, of course. But the weird thing about stopping the antiperspirant, I noticed actually two things. Number one, within the first 3 to 6 months, I started to excrete sweat that not only smelled, but smelled way worse than anything I had ever experienced before. So in my mind, that was either one of two things were happening. My microbiome was changing and the bacteria that was being produced on my skin at that point had also changed, or it could have been the simple fact that these glands and these pores had been clogged for so many years that finally my body had a chance to breathe and it started to detoxify these toxins out of my body. Another huge thing that I noticed was that the lumps, bumps, and tenderness and the swelling of my breasts started to slowly go down. And this was a big one for me because I'm talking about having had this issue for like 15 years. And here I stopped antiperspirant and gradually my breasts seemed to be clearing out somehow and I was no longer having this issue with my breasts. So that was definitely a bonus. And I kept thinking to myself, well, I know what they're saying about antiperspirant and I know they're saying that it won't lend to changing the tissues within your breasts or it doesn't in fact clog the lymphatic system or anything like that. But now I'm not so much of a believer because I stopped using antiperspirant probably like 5 or 6 years ago and my breast problems have completely subsided and I've never had to deal with them again. Everybody is made differently and I'm not saying if you stop using your antiperspirant that this is the type of effect that you're going to have and that if you are currently struggling with tender breasts or lumpy breasts that that's going to subside completely for you. Because again, there were other things to take into consideration like the fact that I started eating very, very well at, around the same time. Well, it wouldn't have been the same time, it would have been like 4 years earlier. But it's just something to consider. And if it's something as simple as switching up your antiperspirant and no longer using that and using a natural deodorant in order to help you with whatever ailment it is that you might be struggling with when it comes to your breasts, why not? Let's get into the 2 natural deodorants that I use. Here's the first one that I use and it's called Dr. Mist. I started using this one first after having gone through dozens of other natural deodorants and I kind of stopped on this one. There was a few things that I liked about it. Number one, it was a spray formula and I kind of liked that for some reason. Number two, it was made with Dead Sea salt, so it was actually full of minerals. However, the other thing about it was it seemed to be the only one that, although I had to reapply it throughout the day, which meant the bottle didn't last very long, it was the only one that didn't seem to make my sweat smell worse. So that's why I kept on with this. I did pick this one up at the Goodness Me. However, I know Whole Foods carries it as well. This was approximately $8.99, I believe. And like I said, the bottle looks fairly large, but you do have to reapply this throughout the day. So it didn't last quite as long as the next formula I'm going to show you. And I picked up a travel size here because last month when I went to Jamaica, I needed to have something small for my travel bag. Schmidt's. I absolutely love this formula and there are numerous reasons why. It is on the expensive side. If you don't pick up these, like this little travel container here cost me about, I believe it was $6 or $7. However, if you get the regular cream formula, because this one does come in a creamed formula in a regular, what you're used to seeing in like, in these regular applications like that. So it does come in a regular formula like that. The goodness me, I think it's $13.99. I've seen it online for $10.99, so it would be worth it to shop around. The other thing is a little tiny bit goes a long way. Like I've had this for probably four weeks now or something like that, and I still have quite a bit in the jar. I'll show you. So see there, I have quite a bit. You're probably wondering how you apply that. In this case, what you do is you just actually scoop out a little bit on your finger, warm it up a little bit between your two fingers, and then just apply it directly with your fingers to your armpit. The reason why I absolutely love this formula is because this formula not only helps to keep you smelling pretty with all the essential oils, the natural essential oils that are used in it, it also does an amazing job at keeping you dry. So this has been, to be honest, this has been the only formula I have ever found that helped with both the smell and keeping me dry. So that's why I think if you're gonna invest in one, this is definitely one that you wanna try. Like I said, $13.99 seems a bit steep and a bit expensive, but it's so worth the money. So like I was saying before, I have used a ton of natural deodorants, and these are the only two that I found worked really well for me. I'm not necessarily sure if they'll work for you, but I know that they have had amazing reviews, and I believe both of these brands have been both top rated, and I've gone through the ingredients lists on both of them and they look pretty clean to me. So that's why I would suggest those two. In any case, ban the baddies and detoxify your armpits. Where did I get that from? On the contrary, many different cultures don't even believe in deodorant, and they believe going au naturel, which means they don't use deodorant and they don't shave their armpits, especially the women. So, not that men do it in Western culture either, although some of them do, depending on if you're bodybuilding and stuff like that, or a swimmer. But anyway, nonetheless, some cultures find beauty in hair and, you know, enjoy the fact that some of us decide to go natural with our natural pheromones, and that's fine. You know, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. So if you're fine with it, then do what you want. Let yourself go natural if that's what you want to do. And really, it's nobody else's business what you do with your body. And wait, did I say beauty is in the eye of the beholder? Should that be beauty is in the nose of the beholder? Whatever, but you know what I mean. Anyway, that's all I have for today. Thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe to our channel, and why don't you let me know in the comments below what your favorite natural deodorant is. Bye-bye.